baby boomers have the time and the money to spend on luxury vacations. That's why the sector has been doing so well. We're going to talk to the CEO of Virtuoso, a luxury travel advisory company. It's seen a boost in business thanks to the boomer generation.
Now getting to the final installment in our Baby Boomer Effect series this week. One business that is expecting a huge jump with the baby boomers getting older, travel and leisure. Baby boomers have the time and the money to spend to travel the world, and they're doing it in style. CNBC's Robert Frank has the story.
Thanks, guys. Well, with more time on their hands, baby boomers are taking to the road and the skies and the seas. Boomers spend over $150 billion a year on travel, which they rank as their top leisure activity. They take an average of 3.7 trips a year, but they're not just looking for a lounge on the beach. We spoke with luxury travel firm Virtuoso about their 3 most popular trips for boomers. Topping the list is a world cruise. Most are more than 100 days. Crystal Cruises has a 108-day trip around the world, including the Caribbean, French Polynesia, Easter Islands, South Africa, and Argentina. Prices range from $41,000 to $212,000 per person. Now, upscale safaris are really big right now, with a 15-day grand safari focusing on Kenya and Tanzania, starting at $17,855 per person. And the land down under has become a top choice for roving boomers. Retirees have time to make that long flight, and there's a 10-day tour of Sydney, the Reef, and Rainforest, starting at $3,390 per person. Now, with adults over 50 accounting for 80% of travel spending right now, this is the one generation you want to keep up with. Back to you.
I'll bet. Let's bring in Matthew Upchurch, who keeps up with them. He's the chairman and CEO of Virtuoso. This is a luxury travel advisors network that targets 50, 60, and 70-year-olds. Good to have you here.
It's great to be here.
One of the stats that you brought us is that 2012 was the first year that more than 1 billion people in the world traveled internationally. And I always thought, that's the Chinese, that's the new emerging class, new middle class in Brazil and India. But it's also the retirement generation, right?
Right, it's both. It's what's happened is both the aging boomers in the industrialized world are really driving that with basically the #1 desire of boomers to do in their retirement is travel, by far. And then, of course, the rise of the rest of the world.
Here's what I understand. We have all these stats all the time. Oh, people aren't saving enough for retirement. Most people haven't saved enough for retirement, and yet I see all these people, they're retiring early, and they're spending money like crazy on these trips. What is it?
Well, as you've reported before, there's this huge transfer of wealth, but it's also, what we've seen over the last 20 years is this huge shift in priorities from the accumulation of stuff to life experiences. And so it's quite frankly, a lot of people are focusing on life experiences, and travel as being one of the key, if not the key conduit for that. So it's also a prioritization of their spending, of their discretionary spending.
I need to ask a quick question. You said in the intro 50, 60, and 70-year-olds?
Yeah, you can be 51 or 50. Is that your question?
No, not at all.
I think it's on the 70s.
I was going to answer that. Confining it to just being 50, 60, or 70 seems limiting.
No,
what if you're 51?
No.
What about 62?
I want to ask about 80-year-olds, because my dad he's still traveling.
No, 82.
There's also
the new
very
60-year-olds.
80s,
well, what I was
50, right?
the intro packages, we serve all generations. Right. And actually, you're right. The fastest growing segment is 80-year-olds.
Right.
I mean, the health.
That's what I want to find out.
The health and
They're
wellness.
Healthy?
Oh, the health and wellness of 80-year-olds.
And they're doing crazy stuff,
be
right?
80.
In their 80s.
But they're doing crazy stuff these years. I mean, they're going on these safaris. They're
healthy. They're active.
Right. That's what's amazing.
They put a lot of us to shame.
Wilbur's got a question.
Yeah, well, as somebody who's approaching 80, I'm glad to hear this story.
They'll take you on a trip, Wilbur. You qualify.
Of the billion people crossing borders, how many are actually Americans?
Well, right now, I don't know that exact statistic, so I won't make it up. But I do know that the boomers right now in the developed world are driving that. The emerging markets are starting to contribute a lot to that, but they're still not the preponderance of it.
But you know what, Steve? This is for you. This
What's
data point, which is the one area where the U.S. still has a trade surplus,
is travel and tourism.
Service. People coming in. You can't even walk on Fifth Avenue anymore.
That's been one of my biggest frustrations when you talk about the reporting of travel and tourism, because we report on airlines and hotels individually, but we don't talk about the entire sector
I have
as a whole.
I have a macro business question for you. You're targeting 50, 60, and 70-year-old. What's interesting to us from the television standpoint is that's outside what we call the demo. Everybody wants to target young people. Are businesses in general missing a huge opportunity to target this group because they have a lot of money to spend? And the general idea being they don't change their spending patterns. But you're saying, you know what, I can make them change their spending.
No, absolutely. And this is absolutely where the money is. And, you know, Ken Dykewald, who was on earlier, he said it best. I mean, these people have not only they have the money and the time, right? And they're reinventing the way they retire. They're not just, you know, they're not just like doing something and then finishing up. They're going back. They're doing volunteerism. They're starting entrepreneurial businesses, but they're very, very active, and travel is a key. The other thing that's important about the boomers is that they are also the parents of the millennials. And the millennials, you know, the intro said that it were 50, 60, and 70. The millennials are spending more per diem than the boomers did. So the reality is with the echo boomers, another name for them, right? The boomers were the first generation after the World War II generation that did not see travel as a luxury. They saw it as a part of their life. They saw it as a right.
It's
Interesting.
weird. I mean,
And they also took the millennials with them, right? So the millennials have grown up. The echo boomers have
As
grown up.
travelers.
They've actually
As travelers.
skewed that crazy demo. It used to be 25 to 54. Then it went 18 to 49. They actually are worried about like 15 to 30. And I think it's because young
wrong. I
people
think
are
business
controlling
versus-
this, and they think that
There's data that business does not follow demographics
I know.
closely enough.
I think it's because they're young and they think, well, we're happy.